I'm presently teaching 2 courses online, first time teaching courses online. The one class is Family Business Management, the other class is, the easy title is Entrepreneurial Leadership. It's leadership development and entrepreneurial opportunities. That's a brand new class which I've designed to taught for the first time. Family Business Management I've taught before, and I'm teaching it face-to-face and online, and both classes are 100% online classes. So suggested, but I also think, I have no, that's the way we're going. We're digital. If you want Star Trek, that's where we're going to be years down the road. And it's a challenging way of right now it's a challenging way of teaching, challenging way of learning. I know that it's tomorrow, so that's probably the exciting part about it. Well, the challenges are both platform or the infrastructure and pedagogical. The platform, I've been using Blackboard. I use Blackboard for discussion groups, Blackboard Wiki, and OVU, or UVU as it's called, which is a visual and oral networking, like a Skype. You allow 6 students to get together at the same time, and I've asked the students to use that for the project. Both classes have projects, and there's 6 or less in each team, so they can use that for their virtual getting together to work on the project. And those are most of the 3 that we're using. The challenges are making Blackboard work. Blackboard is a good platform. The functionality is there, but the organization of it is lacking, and it's been quite an uphill curve getting that up and running the way I want it to function, getting the grade center to function, but there are supports for it also. One of the publishers I'm using has modules. They drop in there. There's quizzes, and we just drop them in from the publisher, and the students take the quizzes, and the answer, and their grade automatically goes to the grade center. So that's a great advantage, I think, and that facilitates that way. So that's the infrastructure challenges. But pedagogically, there's a different way of having to think about it. And I was thinking it's almost a luxury. We were in a classroom, 2.5 hours a week with students, and present lots of material, get interaction going, feed off the conversations that are happening there, where I don't have that on Blackboard or there in the virtual classes, which makes me need to really focus on what is the most important thing that needs to be learned in this module or in this chapter, and present that in a way that's entertaining, inviting for them to participate, as well as reach the goals, the learning goals that I have for the course. Well, there's the pluses and the minuses of being able to do it. It is the same, 2 sides of the same coin. I can do things at 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning if I want to. The focusing, I think, has really been interesting. It's helped me sharpen. I'm an adjunct faculty. I've been teaching here. This is my 2nd year. I've done a lot of teaching at NYU and continuing ed, which is a different platform, a different intent, a different purpose. And doing these have helped and required me, and I've tried thinking through what is the learning objective much more clearly, what has to be learned, and then creating the rubric to get to that place is what I'm expecting from the students to see if they've achieved that learning. And doing these courses have pushed me to do that. I don't have the luxury of getting in front of the classroom and just sort of talking and seeing what comes from it. It may be analogous to a professor saying to me years ago, this is a 8-page paper. If you give me a 25-page paper, that tells me you're hoping me to think I'll find you have the right answer somewhere in there. It's got to be clear, precise, and focused on what you're doing. And this has helped me do that. I do. Even though it's they call it 100% online course, that means 2/3 of the classes are done virtually or online. I have face-to-face meetings with them also, 4 throughout the semester, I had to call in a special one in one of my classes just because it felt like we were wandering all over the place, so to speak, partially through my learning, what I'm doing here, struggling with Blackboard at a period of time. And said we're having a special session, called them in on Sunday, and we all walked away, students and I walked away saying, yes, we needed that to get focused on that. And likewise, I've met most of the students face-to-face to a bit and get a sense of who they are, and so tying that face-to-face in with what I'm getting through the discussion board, I'm getting a sense of who they are. There's another faculty who's new this year who has taken online classes, got a graduate degree through, I guess he got an accelerated MBA program from Babson, and he said he created tight relationships with the other students just through the online interconnection. One of when I called that face-to-face meeting, I mentioned in the leadership class, we were talking about the platform and the learning process and how it's going for them. Was one of my questions. How's it going for you? Mm. And in that overall discussion through that 2 hours we were together, the comment came out was that maybe online works better for a class like calculus, where it's you either have the right answer or the wrong answer, and I know students have gone through. My daughter took her first year of calculus, and she never went to class, more or less. And she got herself a tutor. She said, that really did it. And I studied and worked with my tutor, but coming to a class that had 300 students in it just wasn't productive. Mm-hmm. A class like that maybe would work online, where another class where you do need relationships and discourse and discussion, maybe not as much. We'll see. But I think we're moving in that direction anyway. So there's going to be an evolution of how one teaches, of the material, and of how one learns. So there's the student has to learn how to take online classes, and the faculty member needs to learn how to teach online classes, and the platform needs to be developed to get us to really do it. There's a couple things here that if I only have, and per chapter there's one thing or two things that need to come across. So I have to devise a discussion question to have that happen, if that's what we're doing in that material. The publishers that provide material have they have discussion questions they provide me that I can use, they have quizzes, and for the leadership class there's quizzes which the students are taking chapter by chapter by chapter, so that I know that they're reading the material that way and they're getting grades on the quizzes, and they're set up in a way that it's taken a lot of load off of me and grading them because they happen automatically. And there's a term for it also but no student gets the same quiz. So there's a rotating number of questions in there. So that's one way of evaluating to get in there. The rubric, I've changed rubrics from the beginning on how I'm grading the discussion questions, and I'm pulling models from different people, different places. And one model I picked up on, that's what I'm doing, I'm picking up other people's models. And someone said to me yesterday, he quoted another individual who said we need to learn from other people's mistakes because life is too short to learn from all our own mistakes. And so this one guy's model was that each discussion question was worth 25 points. And I sat with that for the longest time. How am I going to grade those? And another one came back and said each of her discussion questions worth 4 points. But you want someone to respond to my question, and then respond to another student's questions likewise also, which gets people participating, which can't sit in the back of the classroom. So everyone sort of has to participate. And how do I grade those? And that model was 4 points maximum. Mark was really 5. It's excellent, above average, average, below average, and no credit whatsoever. So that's a 5-point scenario, and Blackboard you can rate each response with up to 5 stars. So that fits the hand and glove right there. And then each student can respond, and I don't want just John had a good answer. That's a 0 response on that. But I've been able to look at each student's questions and go through the responses and evaluate them like I was evaluating a paper that someone wrote, the same way. And then, have specific things in there like, does it address the issue? Does it advance the thinking? Is it articulate? Is it well thought through? And if they do, there's 4 things there, then they get a 4 on that. And if they only do 2 of or 3 of the 4, then they would get a good but not excellent. Less than that, it's average. They sort of look for that kind of content. And a bit of it is, as professor reading the paper, there's a bit of subjectivity on it likewise. Are they grasping the material? And are they pulling in from other sources likewise? For example, I'm reading and a case out at the same time. And what I'm expecting them to be able to relate the two in their analyses. And I'm learning to write that into my rubric now also. In a conversation in the classroom, I could just ask that question. What happens here, what's there? So putting that together. So when you wrote about issues about succession planning, but you read a case about it, what happened in the case that reflects the points that you're making in the article? So that would go into a rubric also, so they understand that. Yes and no. I don't want to be made a fool of, and that's, I'm on a linear side on that. I think that Baruch students are above average. I think there's a fair amount of integrity there likewise. What goes around comes around. It'll catch up to you sometime, someplace, somewhere. Yeah, take an online class first. Absolutely. Which I didn't do. I thought about it. I knew I started teaching this class in the middle of last semester. I started working on it and looked for one, but didn't really find one that fit our subject. And one of my other colleagues did take one, and that's where I got the other rubric model from. But take one first, and or participate in a program. I mentioned I teach at NYU and the continuing ed occasionally, and they require anyone teaching to go through their online teaching, faculty online teaching program. I don't know how in depth it is, but having have done it before, on your own, you get a better sense of what works and what doesn't work. I will be, of course. I have to put all this work into it once, of course I am. And I know I will. I'm slated to teach it in the fall, teaching family business online and face-to-face, and over the summertime I'll be teaching it, and I'll probably do a hybrid over the summertime.